Hello, my name is Chris Woodpan. I'm the owner of Ingot Film Studios, and I am working with Hero Time to make a bunch of videos to help you get your products ready for print. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. We are entering the home stretch of our Getting Your Art Ready for Board Games video series, and this time we are getting our files ready to send to the printer. Now, this episode is going to specifically cover what file types you should actually send. So let's dive into each one real quick. Coming in at the top of the list is going to be PDFs. PDFs are usually the simplest thing that people want to send, and they're very easy to send from programs, but there are a few things to know about sending a PDF. Number one is be sure that you preserve any editing capabilities within the PDF itself, and also use press quality whenever possible. Do know that PDF does compress a lot of your images, so it can sometimes get a little funny if you start messing with the settings too much. Trying to get your file sizes down, it can be a drawback, so really only do PDFs if you know what you're doing and you're comfortable with it, or it was requested by your publisher. Next up is going to be a Photoshop file, .psd. Photoshop files are pretty straightforward. You just need to send them. They don't contain too much information, but refer to our videos on layer organization and labeling to make sure that everything is clearly done. If you have text, you're going to want to rasterize those layers so that nobody has to hunt down fonts for you and install them on their systems. So kind of like create outlines, rasterizing text in Photoshop will be a very crucial step to ensuring it turns out the way you want it to. All right, next up is going to be Adobe Illustrator .ai. Adobe Illustrator files should be lean and mean by the time you're setting them off. What do I mean by that? Your outlines are created. Any extra layers that you used for templates or for editable text are removed, and that you have everything as tight as possible. Be sure to check that file with the Control Y function and see if you need to export and import anything that's completely crazy in your backgrounds or anything like that. Now, the other thing to be sure of is that you created outlines with all your text. See the video on that as well. And be sure to embed any images that you've imported. See the last video on that. There's a lot to cover. But Adobe Illustrator files tend to be very small once you get them down in all of these elements, and they are a great way to package and send off your stuff to the printer. So next up is .png. So a PNG file is going to be a graphic file that is going to be the final result of what you want printed. If you know what you're doing and you're a good graphic artist and you designed everything correctly on the front end, this is an absolute good way to go, and it will be one of the smaller file sizes available. Just remember to export it at 450 dpi if you're doing this at its final resolution, just so that it can be as good as possible. Remember, there is some slight compression, so colors can change. Which brings us up to the last one, which is .jpg. Also known as JPEG, these images are compressed and they are distributed that way. So JPEGs can have some variation, especially from one to the next. So just be advised that things may be a little different, and if you want critical colors and things like that, I would not recommend sending through this file format. So be sure to send that with the highest quality 10 at 450 dots per inch to avoid any other little issues when possible. So there you have it. That's pretty much everything I got for you today on the what files to send. Notice here that we did not really say send any InDesign files. InDesign files can be super tricky, have links to tons and tons of things. You're going to be best served using a PDF if that's your program of choice. Also note that just because we're talking about Adobe products doesn't mean that this doesn't apply to other third-party programs that may also still export in Adobe Illustrator format or Photoshop PSD. So all those are available, and be sure to use the format that is going to serve you the best in the end. So thanks for watching. We're going to wrap up the episodes with our next two, and we're going to actually export files out of Illustrator and Photoshop just so that you can see that in action. And then we're going to call it a day. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.